I don't know what the vibes are at your place right now, because when we are in the monastery, we are always living in our own world. So we don't really get to know anything about what's going on anywhere much. Sometimes when there are big events happening, we get to know. Somehow it comes to us. I don't know whether you consider that things going on in the world are big or not. I didn't know about it much. It came yesterday only when we spent one whole night working on a video, the video which we are going to show you today as well. Felix and me and some other monks who helped us, because Felix, you might not know Felix, he's an anagarika that came with us sometimes here. Felix and me, we traveled to Germany in January. So when we came back to the monastery 2 weeks ago, we just wanted to show you and show all our devotees, everyone in our family, something about our journey, what we have experienced, so that you can also travel with us. And also, you can also rejoice in whatever the goodness that has happened. So we spent a lot of time last week, sleepless nights, finishing that video. So we got it, finished it. So actually we can show it to you today. And, when I was sharing this video with friends and family and whoever has helped us on this journey, because there have been many people, right? And in every place we went, people have helped us. The people who organized the event, the people who supported us after the event, people just came and showed interest. And then we had the emotional support from you all. I remember the kind words that I got to hear from many of you when we left, the well wishes for our journey, success of our tour, and I'm sure that I could feel the support from everyone here, even when I was there. So whenever I spoke to the monks, they always told me how much they wish the tour to be a successful one, and for people to get some help, and just for it to be a great tour. So it was also thanks to all of you that this tour was a real success actually. And also, last but not least, because you always give me another chance to explain the Dhamma. You always believe in me, that's what I always feel. So it was because of that month-long practice of explaining and practicing and being here with you, celebrating the Buddha Puja, everything, all these things, all these merits we have done, that I could take that also with me to Germany, where we didn't know what we would be able to expect. So there were many people they don't even know what is a Buddha Puja, for example, how to do merits. These are not things that people knew much. So we had to start from the beginnings. But I think maybe we should just have a look. You can see, and I'll explain you some of the things that you might see. One word before doing that, it was very cold. So if you see me in ice cap, you must forgive me, because it was really sometimes not really an option. Although you can't see the coldness in the picture sometimes. Sometimes you can see the snow, but it was cold pretty much all the time when we were there, except when we were in closed rooms. And then it was not cold, otherwise it was always pretty cold, especially the later stage of the journey. When we were in Poland and Berlin, it was -10 degrees Celsius during the daytime. So, as a monk, we have 3 robes. We have 2 of these, so one to wear, one to wash, and to dry. And these are, we call them as single layer robes. So I took all 3 robes with me, but and the third robe that we have is this double layer robe, or we call it as Nibbāna. So let me tell you that the 2 other robes, I only wore one of them one day. Other than that, maybe 2-3 days is when I wore this robe, just because the other one, the thick one, is dry, because there wasn't much use of this. It was just too thin. Although I feel here some days that is too much even, right? On some days when it's really hot. So you saw us having Nibbāna in the snow as well. There was a very kind restaurant shop owner. So usually we didn't even try to go for Nibbāna, because people just don't know that. So I think we would have walked and people just didn't know what we're doing. So we didn't think that was a good idea, especially not in the weather. Maybe in summer we would have tried that, just to see what happens. But there was one occasion when we were going to that city. We had a talk in the evening, in the afternoon, and we had some time before that. So our organizer came. He realized that there was a restaurant run by I think it was a Chinese. These were Chinese people. And so he thought, well, we might go there and we might just ask, maybe they are Buddhist, something like that, so maybe they would be would be happy to offer Nibbāna. Since it's not every day that there's a monk here that they can do that. So he went and asked, and it turned out that yes, they were Buddhist, and yes, they would really love to offer dharma to the monk. So for that reason, we went there, and this man was actually all these restaurant people. They were very kind and filled our arms, not just my arms full, but Felix Matthias' arms full to the full. I mean, they served us one full dharma, and so that was how it happened. Very generous people. Of course, all our organizers who drove us around. This gentleman I talked about, he had taken a week off. With his car, he drove us. You saw Germany is like 700, 800 kilometers long. So we were just about to the most southern places, like Munich. You saw Munich was there, and then we were also on the other place, which was Lübeck. So Lübeck is where we had. It was actually it was towards the end of the tour, and that's where we also were able to meet some people from Sri Lanka as well, who offered dana to us, and who showed us around and organized things for us, which was also great people. So we covered the whole country, and most of the southern part there's just one gentleman who took 4 or 5 days, and he drove us around all these cities, from Freiburg to that city that we had the Pindapata, then after to Munich and back. So it was, I would guess, 1,000 kilometers or 800 kilometers just driving in total. So we always felt very taken care of. Before we forget, chant the Namaskara as well. Before chanting the Namaskara, let us remind ourselves that we are here to practice the Dhamma, that we are here to listen to the Dhamma, that we are here to reflect on our lives and try to make a difference to our lives and to the lives of others. That we are here to use our valuable time as human beings to the benefit of our future and others, and with great gratitude towards the Buddha who has found the truth and who has so compassionately shared it with us, mortals and very normal and average human beings. Let us express with a sense of gratitude and with a determination to make the most of our time. And let's venerate the Lord Buddha by chanting the Namaskara and then observing the 5 precepts. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Is there any question that you have regarding the video? Because you don't have to have a question, just want to be sure that I don't forget explaining something that you have in your mind before we go on to other topics. So,
it's interesting coming across age groups from younger to
yes. Yeah, that brings me to one point I had. When I saw the video, I thought, no, I should talk about this after. But after I tried to think about it, I couldn't remember. One of the points, you see at the beginning, when we were in Frankfurt, on these pictures you saw there were many young people, maybe in the 20s. And the gentleman who organized these events, he came to us last year, that means actually in 2024, around Christmas, in December, he came to the monastery. When he came to the monastery, he was a medical student. So he was studying medicine, and he came to Sri Lanka only for a few months to do like a internship. And I think in medicine they have something they have a project which they are supposed to spend in some other field. I don't know how that's called. There's a specific name for that. However, he came to Sri Lanka and sometimes I might have explained to you as well. We regularly get medical students, German medical students most of the times, but generally speaking, medical students who come to the monastery to join our programs. And this gentleman, he came alone, and he stayed with us for a few days, and he really liked everything he saw. He really got something from our place. And so when he went back to Germany, first we didn't have his contact details, and he didn't have our contact details for some reason. It must have been some vipaka, something like that. Then for some time we didn't have any contact, but later on when he joined our sessions again online, he was very keen to organize something for his friends. So you saw, he was the gentleman who had the Buddha Puja. He was alone with me on that picture. So he organized everything, and you can see most of the people who came to these programs were very young, like 20, 25. So I felt really happy to see young people like this. And after our talks, we always gave them the chance, if anyone wants to have a spirit thread, we gave them a chance to get one. And we didn't expect that there would be much interest in that, because it seems like a bit of a religious thing. And generally speaking, these people, they don't like these kind of things. So we thought not many might be interested in that. But actually, everyone came. And everyone really wanted to, and everyone was interested to have a spirit thread. So that really showed me that sometimes, especially, it seems like the young generation, sometimes people say they are not so interested in religious matters and these kind of things. And but actually, at the end of the day, we are all looking for happiness. I mean, me myself, when I was young, I also never liked to go to the church with my parents when they forced me to go. I never liked that. So we always had to go. And so much so that after all these things happened, not that anything bad has happened. Actually, now I'm grateful for the exposure I had. And I learned many important lessons, but it was only when I came to this philosophy, which was explained to me in a very logical way, in a way which I don't have to believe as a scientist. No. I like that. And something I can practice, which is better. Something to believe is always a bit hard to, what if you're wrong, right? So what if I'm wrong in believing what I believe, and then it was for nothing? But something I can practice and where I can see the results is something else. So and I think that's what draws people to come to these talks, especially because see in the world around us, and especially in the global affairs, you can read all sorts of things, and there are all sorts of nonsense going on. It's not that it was any worse today than it has ever been. I don't think it's worse today than before. It was always like that. Even in the time of the Buddha, people were fighting each other, wars were happening, all this nonsense was going on just the same. Now today we have technology, and it's like we are all just, ultimately, if we don't understand the Dhamma, then for the Buddha we are just babies. Although we think we are so grown up, for the Buddha we are just little children. But if you give a knife to a child, what will the child do? You cannot know what it will do. So the technology and all these scientific advances that we have made as a race, of course, they will lead to all sorts of... It's not the technology is the problem, but people's lack of wisdom. So sometimes we were invited to Christian places, and it was equally a great experience as sometimes we had Buddhist places. You saw that there was a Tibet house. So there were people who were mostly familiar with the Tibetan approach to Buddhism. So sometimes we had spoken in universities. So these were people who were just students of sometimes charity, social work or sciences. I also spoke to the institute where I did my master's, my graduate. So I did a master's in physics. So I wrote an email to my professor. Can I come? I would like to speak about Buddhism. Actually, I didn't say that. I said I want to speak about the relationship between science and Buddhism. And he was very open, and he said, yes, you can come. I told him I'm not going to talk about anything unscientific. I'm going to be very specific, scientific. And he was open. He was open-minded to allow us to speak, which is very, very good. I didn't expect that to happen from everyone. So in all of these different places, we always had to speak in very different ways about the same truth. Right? And so much so that I felt that a huge motivation to realize that actually the people are interested and they are already waiting for us. The only thing that's lacking is how well we have practiced this, how good we can explain this. That is something we have to improve. Since we are just on this path for 2, 3 years. I mean, for me, I can say I'm in the monastery for 2.5 years. I have done everything I can in the time I am on this path. I don't have any regrets. I don't feel like I have done. I'm wasting my time. But still, there's room to grow for others to really understand what we want to share with them. But however, many times it really worked much better than we ever expected. People who I thought, where I was sure that there was going to be some resistance. I mean, we spoke to, for example, Christian nuns. So I can understand that they might not be so open to talk with us. I thought like that. But actually, one of our organizers, he knew Christian nunnery, so he went there and he asked them, can we invite some Buddhist monks and have a discussion together? And they were most happy to do that. Actually, this was one of the greatest events we had. See, then Felix and me, we came there. And this morning I wake up and when I want to go down to the Dhamma hall, so what I usually do in the morning is I wake up. We all do that. We all wake up and we take our alms bowl. So there's a common room where we all have our alms bowls. So we take that alms bowl after we have washed our teeth and went to the washroom and everything. We take our alms bowl. We go to the Dhamma hall, and then at 4:30 we start our discussions. We have a 1 hour of theory discussion in the morning, what we call it as Nyaya Sakacca. So we have that, and then we have our Buddha Puja and Dana and so on. So this is our morning routine. So when I go to the locker room, where usually our alms bowls are kept, I see my alms bowl is not there. So you can imagine what happens to you when have you always also had these kind of situations? Maybe you're looking for your keys and they are not there. You're looking for you wake up in the morning, you're looking for something and it's not there and you're in a rush, so then we feel vexed, feel this vexation. So it was a really good karmasthana for me in the morning. It was always, and then I went to our discussion, and then the monk explained the theory of Dhamma, 15 minutes, and then after we can ask questions. So I used that chance to ask this question. I had this experience in the morning. How can I apply the Dhamma to this situation? And so for 45 minutes in this group, unfortunately it was, the one problem is I can hear only 50% because that ear doesn't work at the moment. And then it was also in Sinhala, so I can't understand every word that the monks are saying. Most of the things I can understand, but not everything. So I was just mostly sitting there and listening and using whatever I understand to think about how I would solve this problem. And but I was really happy because actually these are really good questions. See, in Dhamma we have always different questions. There's these questions we have because we are just curious, because just we want to learn something. What is anicca, what is dukkha, what is anatta, or how does, these questions which increase our knowledge. And then they are very simple questions, like these, very practical questions. So I can always tell you, don't waste your time on these other questions. That means Dhamma is not for that. Dhamma is, how do I apply this theory to solve my problems? And if it doesn't do that, then I shall not bother learning it. Right? So everything we do here also has that aim. I don't want to teach you anything to increase your knowledge, just to solve your problems, help you to solve that problem. Sometimes, yes, I admit, either I get lost or you get lost in that process. That can happen. But this is where we should be. This is where we should focus. So, last week also I talked about this, the kiss. What is in a kiss? I use that contemplation a lot this week. Contemplating this, when we are here together, I can't give a sermon to you. I cannot come prepared with something that I have in my mind and just throw it to you, because I don't know whether you will like it, whether you will be interested in it. And as well, are you deserving of it? I don't mean this in a bad way. I wish you to be deserving of everything in world. I wish you to be an Arahant. But am I God? I'm not God. So I can't decide the rules of the game. All that we can do being here together is we can qualify ourselves for something that nature will give us, right? That's why everything we are discussing here is, at the end of the day, it's nature's choice, nature's gift to us. So when there's a point like, when there's a good Dhamma point like contemplating about the kiss, for me, I don't know whether it was helpful for you, but it was helpful for me. When these points come, when I can realize what a kiss really is. Because most of the world doesn't realize at all what a kiss actually is. And that's really sad for them. But when this comes, who should I give credit to? Is this something that I have found? Is this something that I can give credit to myself? If that's so, then I should always be able to give an analogy. Have you written an exam in your lives? I had an exam, I remember. Most of the exams, I don't know, I think I'm blessed in this way. Usually I was prepared, at least the ones I cared about. Some of them I didn't care about. Not to say that it is good to be careless in that way, but most of the times I had prepared for it. So when you prepare for an exam, that gives you a sense of confidence. And then of course, once you start a question and you can do it really well, once you have finished one simple question, it boosts your mind more, and then everything else becomes very easy. It can happen. But it can also happen the other way around. So I had exams in my life. As much as I wanted to write a good exam, once I started writing it, everything went downhill from there. Nothing worked. So I really wanted to write a good exam, but it couldn't. So at that moment I couldn't remember. So maybe I have explained this story before. There was one exam where the professor came to us and said, "My dear students, when you see the exam, don't be afraid. It looks a lot, but it's not that hard. Just try your best, start with a simple question. Everything will be fine," something like that. So that in itself already gave me some sense of actually fear. And then when I looked into the exam and I looked at the first question, normally I immediately see the answer. Now I didn't see the answer. So then I get nervous. So I turn to the second page, and the second question, I also see, it's so complicated. What can I do? So I get even more nervous. So as it happens, the nervousness rises so high that even the simplest things which I can do on a good day without thinking much, I wasn't sure anymore. Is this really true? Am I doing the right thing? See, hasn't that happened to you as well sometimes? So what I mean to say with this is, we are not in control of our mind. We can't take these things for granted. These are not things The Dhamma is never something you can own, just as much as anything else in life. You can't own anything. So, all we can do when we are here is we can qualify ourselves for the Dhamma to come. Isn't it so? I can't come here and tell you that I'm definitely going to be able to explain you a very good Dhamma point. That's not how it is. Because I can't know about my mind. And can you be sure that you're going to understand the point that I'm going to explain you? You can't be sure either. Sometimes everyone else will understand something, but you feel like you don't understand anything. And sometimes that happens. And in that way we have to accept. We have to accept that this is how it happens. We are not in control, actually, of anything, right? Is there anything that you can control? The decisions are always taken by nature. But we can do something. It's not that we can't do anything. For example, if you have done merits, and if you have done the things that you were supposed to do, whether that is in the path of Dhamma or whether that's in your worldly lives, definitely learning for an exam will be a big influence whether you're going to be able to solve the question or not, right? Whether you will be confident or not, can't you influence that? Yes, you can do. You can't be sure 100%, but you can work on some of the causes. So that is something we can do. But the effect we are never in control of the effect. It's something we have to understand. So, the kiss. I used the kiss as a good contemplation this week. More broadly speaking, not the kiss, but this what touch really is. Isn't touch a very essential part of our existence? The meaning of touch. And just as much as taste as well. So I see people would pay a lot of money for holding hands, right? Because they feel that this holding hands experience, I'm just making it very harmless, because it's just an example for touch. You can take a kiss as another situation. See, I would, if not for the Dhamma, I would spend most of my life chasing these experiences to find happiness. To talk a little bit about this alms bowl that I couldn't find in the morning. It's not easy to explain this principle of anicca. It will take us some time to get our heads around this concept, what I'm trying to explain, because there's another concept which we already know, and that is so familiar to our minds. The concept which we already know is impermanence. And I'm sure you have heard about impermanence a lot of times. When I'll try to explain you anicca, sometimes you will think that I'm talking about impermanence. But actually I'm not doing that. I'm talking about at least what I thought impermanence was until I came to understand anicca. Because anicca is something very profound, but not complicated. Not complicated. Not something you have to be intelligent, as in you don't have to have a special math degree, you don't have to be Albert Einstein. We actually just need some merits. And that's it. It's simple, but subtle a little bit. So we are here to learn that truth. Actually, that is the only thing that's really useful in your life, if you ask me. Because the other things we do, but they are ultimately not anything we can take away with us from this life to the next. Nothing that really satisfies our mind. That's why until today, you and me, we all experience the same pressures, stress, anxieties. Don't you experience these things? Haven't you tried many things to come out of that? Sometimes we have management methods, right? So I'll try and see where I will come. You just try to sink in with me, and if there's something, if it becomes too odd, then we can discuss something else. That's fine for me as well. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'll try to start, and we'll see where we go. Does that sound good? I will tell you, it's very beautiful, but just to warn you, sometimes it's much more profound than if you take it on face value. If you take it on face value, it seems not special at all, but trust me, then definitely you haven't gotten what I'm trying to say. So, see, there was a moment, if I ask you, when you came into this room, what did you think you were going to do? You're going to listen to the sermon, right? And what are you going to do after the sermon? You're going to participate in the Buddha Puja, or you're going home. You're going to do something else. As much as you know that life is not certain at all, don't you still feel that that is something that you can do? Isn't it? How long are you still going to be alive? How many seconds can you guarantee that you're going to be alive? You can't give a time. You can't give. Because just when I finish this word, a bomb could drop on this building. Or maybe someone already has put a machine gun on with a sniper. He's already aimed at us. He just has to press the trigger. And in an instant, we are going to be dropped dead. Right? So that means actually we don't know anything. We don't have any certainty, isn't it? But how do we feel? How do you and me feel? Our mind feels it in a bit of a different way. For example, today in the morning, if I'm not mindful, if our mind is in this wrong mindfulness, see, when it is in the wrong mindfulness, what it will do is it will take things for granted, right? So if you're not mindful, you might think, now I'm driving to the sermon. Are you really sure that the sermon is going to happen today? Can you be really sure that the sermon is going to happen today here? No. And then we say, the sermon has been cancelled, isn't it? See, there's something very deep in these very small words, in this very simple example. Let me ask you this question. For a sermon to be cancelled, where was the sermon before we came here? Who brought the sermon? Do I bring the sermon? If I bring the sermon, I could then me being here, me sitting here, is that a sermon or is that just a monk? I didn't bring a sermon. Actually, I just brought my robe. I'm going in the same way. The way I'm going here, I'm going to Dharma Hall. I don't have anything. I didn't take a sermon out of my locker and brought that with me. Right? So, can you say that the monk is bringing the sermon here? No, because without you, it wouldn't be a sermon. It's just a monk sitting on a stage. Then if I didn't bring the sermon, who brought it? Did you bring it? You also didn't bring it. Then who brought it? No one brought it. But it is here now, right? Obviously. How can that be? See, because when we are talking about this principle of anicca, and when we are talking about causes, or hetu paticca sambhuta, what does it mean? Hetu paticca sambhuta. Causes coming together to manifest an effect. So that means the sermon is not an entity, the sermon is actually a process. The sermon is actually, can a sermon happen if you walk out of the room? So, is there a sermon separate from you? Is the sermon here on the table? If the sermon would be here on the table, yes, you can walk out and the sermon will still go on, right? So have we come together to create a sermon? What I mean is, now we came together, we did something, and now on this table we have created something more, which is the sermon. So now you can go home, and me, I will also go. Is it like that? No, actually, we are the sermon. You being here, you are contributing to the sermon. Me being here is contributing to the sermon. So these are causes contributing to an effect. But you can't have a sermon without listeners. You can't have sermon without preacher as well. So, see, let's come back to this point. How can you now think deeply about my question? It's a very profound point, and profound, not complicated, but it'll open up some new avenues of thinking for you. So before we met today, you were in your car, you were at home. Did any of you have the sermon with you? Good. So you didn't have the sermon, I didn't have the sermon as well. Then where was it? It wasn't there, right? It wasn't there. But then, now my point is this. How can the sermon that wasn't there be cancelled? How can you cancel something which does not exist? Cancelling a sermon means something happened to the sermon, right? What happened to it? It was cancelled. The sermon was cancelled. That means something happened to it. That means it was somewhere, right?
It's in your mind, a combination of many factors. But I have a question in that journey, so sometimes then what is the hope comes in the future? Because sometimes for me personally, being hopeful is really positive.
Yes.
It will not be wrong. So in this process, if you're seeing everything is because it's uncertain, unsure, how do you also keep that balance of being hopeful?
See, there are 3 stages you can have in your mind. One is the depressed mindset, which is anyway it's not going to work out, so I have this exam next week, but it's anyway I'm a failure. I'm never going to write a good exam in that, and I'm never going to get what I want. I'm just hopeless. That is a depressed person. That means this person, or this mindset, feels vexation. Vexation means stress or pressure, but it's like the glass is half empty kind of way. So then, therefore, it won't try, because there's nothing I can do, right? Actually, you can do something, because what can you do? You can work on the causes. There's something you can do with anything in life, right? I don't know whether I can write a good exam. Anyway, I'm going to fail this exam. Well, can't you do something to affect the outcome? Yes, you can learn. But when we think like that, we feel fixedness. We also feel fixedness, but it's like in a negative way. Now then, there's a second mindset. I would consider a good example would be a race. Let's say there's a finish line, and there's a the first runner is here, and way beyond there's another runner, and then also there's another runner. Let's say that the last runner is like a child, right? So there are three runners in this race. One who's very quick. Let's say that is something like Usain Bolt, someone really, really quick. And then there's me or you. And then there's a child. So, to understand these three mindsets, connected to anicca and nittya, and let's look at this. When you're running, and you're running against Usain Bolt, what will you feel if he's already passed you? I mean, now 100 meters is a little bit short. Let's say you're running 10 kilometers, like 1 kilometer. So you see him, he's already passed. So what will you feel? I am running against Usain Bolt. How can I ever win against him? I can never win this. I don't bother. What would a normal worldly person feel, like me and you? What will we feel when we are here? Why do I even try? I'm never going to win this. Let's think about this from the point of anicca. So, are you sure you can't win this? When will Usain Bolt win? Is he going to win because it's Usain Bolt? Is it sure? Because Usain Bolt will win when all the causes that are relevant for this effect to happen must come together, right? So causes need to come together for him to win, and causes need to come together for you to win, right? It's the same for everyone. For me to win, causes need to come together, certain causes need to come together, then it will happen. If they don't, they don't. And the same for Usain Bolt. Is he God? No. So what if his ankle will crack? What if he will, I don't know, what if he will step on a slip on a banana? So unless you are God and you know everything that's going to happen, why don't you try? Because you can win. You might be able to win. You can't be sure, right? You are not God. You can't be sure that you're going to win this. But can't you do something? Can't you at least try your best? Because by running quickly, you might be able to, you can do your part. Or you can affect some of the causes, that's what I'm saying. Some of the causes you can affect, but you can't control the end result. You can put some causes into this, for you to win, what is important? Well, you trying your best is surely important. And you running, right? If you just give up and say, okay, I don't bother, I don't even run, what will happen? Maybe, let's say the finish line is behind the corner. Let's take this example. Now, let's think about it like this. For Usain Bolt to win, is it sure that Usain Bolt is going to win? No. He's going to win if all the causes relevant for that are going to come together. If they are not, he's not going to win. So, one of the causes is his ankle, right? The ankle must work. If the ankle doesn't work, he will fall down, he might not be able to walk. And therefore the winning of Usain Bolt will not happen. Now, we don't see him anymore. So we feel like, oh, he's too fast, I don't even bother. So we stop walking. So we just stop, right? We said, what's the point? So this is like the third mindset. Third mindset is depressed mindset, hopeless. Is a hopeless person is he without hope? I mean, a hopeless person, there's no point in me trying. Does he have hopes or not? He has hopes, but he thinks that there's no chance that he's ever going to win them. So he is going to be sad in one way or another, right? And he has expectations. Good. So you will stop running. What's going to happen? The child, who is an Arahant, child is an Arahant, he will run past you, even after taking another 20 minutes just to pass you maybe. And maybe in 1 hour it's going to be here, in 3 hours it's going to cross the finish line. But if Usain Bolt has an accident here, won't the child win? But you could have won it if you would have run. But because you thought that there's no point in doing anything, because it's fixed that he's going to win, Usain Bolt is going to win this is fixed. Therefore, I'm not going to try. So you see, that is the worst mentality. That's why in successful people normally start with this mindset of, I can do anything as long as I try. So that mentality is also important. It's just that it is covered with this jati, fixedness, which means that, so you see, you have people in society, they don't do anything, they don't work, they don't try, and they are not successful either. So they are not respected, and they are also not happy with themselves. They suffer definitely. Nobody wants to be like them. Now then there are people who are very successful, and they are always optimistic. They always think that I can do anything, right? Let's take this example. Let's come to the second mindset. Let's remove Usain Bolt from the game. Let's take another race. Let's say you are running against the child, you and the child, nothing else. What's going to be your mentality now? So I'm running against the child, but I'm running against a child. A child can never win, because this is just a child. So here's what an Arahant will say. A child will win when all the causes come together for that to happen. And I will win when all the causes for that will come together to happen. Even this race is not fixed. So we can't even say whether it's actually going to take place, whether it's actually there's no race. There's no fixed race here. All that really happening is there's a person running. But where is the end of the race? Where's the beginning of the race? Actually, these are all conventions. That's why there's a convention when a race starts. When does a race start? That's why usually somebody has to make a sound, right? Now the race starts. There's only a convention, isn't it? So, for example, imagine there's a man from the jungle who's running with you. So you ask this man, he just came from the jungle, he doesn't know anything about civilization. Do you want to run in this Olympic race? Yes, sure, why not? So he's standing next to you, and he's also waiting for you to run. But you didn't explain him that we need to run when this sound comes. So do you think he will know that the race has started when he hears the sound? No, all he will hear is the sound. But where in the sound is the beginning of the race? Who said that the sound is the beginning of the race? The sound is just a sound, right? Conventionally we take it as the beginning of the race, but that's just a convention. The sound doesn't bring the race. The sound doesn't start the race. It's just a sound. But in our mind, we take convention as reality, so we feel that now the race has started, so I should run. And when I cross this line, then the race stops. These are all conventions, as we will get to know more and more. So that means the nature doesn't know about it. Okay, let's come back to this example. Now you're running against this child and you slowly feel that, I'm going to win this. See, there's also some element of ego in there, don't you think? You take things for granted in this example. Now you feel like, I'm definitely going to win this. Well, yes. But you're only going to win this when the causes come together. So you have to run. Without running, you won't win. And who knows that whether your ankles are going to work. So it's a lot about a different way of thinking. It's a very different way of thinking, this cause and effect way. But once you adapt your way of thinking, once you understand more and more, actually you will completely, entirely have no expectations whatsoever when you really understand nature, how it really is. So, see, in this example, we have this hopeful attitude, but there's also vexation in there, right? Vexation because there is an expectation for something to happen. And when we expect something, it's always for fixedness. So, for example, see, the sermon, when we are talking about effects, so before that we were talking about the sermon. I asked you the question, where's the sermon before the causes come together? How can we cancel a sermon? Because all that really happened was, sermon is an effect when causes come together. So it's not a thing. It's not something created that lies here. So if this is a sermon, now I can cancel it because I can do something with it. But who try to do something against the sermon right now. Can you really do that? You can walk out from here. That means you can remove yourself from this hall. But the sermon is, do you have the sermon? No. The sermon is only something that's happening. It's not something created. So, that means you can't see, our mind produces this expectation of sermon. So when we wake up in the morning, we feel like, now this sermon is going to happen there today. That's only a projection of our mind. Our mind has a certain plan, certain how it's going to happen. So we feel that the sermon already exists, maybe not in the physical world, but in our mental world. But the problem is nature doesn't know about that. The sermon is not something that comes from somewhere. Sermon is something that happens when the causes come together. There's a difference between fixed things and effects, processes. So where in this room do we find the sermon? Am I doing the sermon right now? Do I have control about the sermon? No, I can't do that, because you are equally a cause. But you don't have the sermon, I don't have the sermon. All that's happening is, these causes are here. You and me, we are here. But there's no separate entity called sermon. So, okay, let's come back to the So how do I explain your question? Please. I didn't know this story, but thank you and much merits for sharing this. I think actually these are really good examples. I mean, for me, the Jataka tales are another source where you can take a lot of these qualities of the Bodhisattva, which are very helpful for improving our mindset. Now, of course, there's always a worldly and there's a supramundane side to this. So what I mean is, yes, worldly success you can achieve in this way. That's good. That is something I have done most of my life. But if that is not enough for you, you have the chance, at least at the moment, to achieve supramundane success as well. Yeah. That's how I would see the sasana, and that's how I would see the Dhamma. Because, and then we need these qualities that we had in our mundane lives, but now we have to focus the aim. So, for example, I was always a person I like to do. For example, something I can tell. I don't know where I have this from, but let's say when I used to go on hiking tours in my university times, at the beginning I thought that it's about sport. It's about your body, whether you are sportive and trained, and that this is what matters. But I realized when I was going on hiking trips, I realized that it's not about the body at all. You can have a body which is very untrained if your mind is there. That means if you have this determination, you can do everything. So I realized it's not about the body. So then later, when I traveled around the world with my bicycle, one question people always ask me is, you must have prepared for this. how many months did you do? Like, did you do some exercises before that? I mean, I was mostly like I'm looking today. So as a monk, I don't do any special exercises. Yes, I do little exercises to keep my body fit, and we also we have exercise in our monastery for health reasons. That's what we do. But besides that, we don't actively engage in these things, right? So in my university time, I mostly sit on the desk and do like calculations. So I didn't do much. I mean, yes, I went swimming, keeping myself fit, but I wasn't like super trained. So people always ask me how you must have prepared a lot, but actually you don't have to. If you want to have a race for 2 weeks, you have to prepare. But if you are going on a bicycle for 1 year, you don't have to prepare. Your mindset is what matters. And so the point here is that quality of virya helps me now today also. I channeled it on worldly success before, where I thought that traveling around the world with a bicycle will make me happy. Once I realized that's not something that's going to happen, because it's just a release of vexation, and I realized that no, there's something more useful I can do with my life. Now I'm doing this, but the virya helps me here as well. Actually, for Nibbāna, you also need virya. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So he also had to fulfill that. He had to fulfill these perfections on a way higher level than us. We also have to perfect them to a certain extent. And the good thing is, for us, we can perfect them using the Dhamma. So at the beginning, we don't have the Dhamma. But then we have to perfect them. Then it's a bit suffering. Because we feel this sense of self, we feel these wantings, and now doing merits, doing things against the me is hard, right? The me wants to sit on the couch and watch TV, but then there's another part of you which wants to attain Nibbāna, because you also see that maybe there's a problem with me doing that. Maybe not in this moment, but in the long run there's going to be a problem. So now you have these conflicts, you have to fight. But when the Dhamma comes more and more, then that problem is not there. So then you don't even feel a wanting which you have to suppress, which is the blessing. That's why I feel monkhood is something really fun for me. Because if you would put me in a rope with 20 years old, then I would have suffered. Because I would have thought that something like holding a girl's hand is something that can give me happiness. Because I thought that pleasure is in that hand. And there's something female in that hand. And things like that. But actually, nothing of that sort of thing is true. So, after understanding it, it becomes easy to be a monk. Because I know that what I have experienced when I had my first kiss, as I explained last week, was not coming from that person. Because it was just... See, we are always looking through the world with our views. This is the most crucial point. Let's say you're eating a hamburger. Is the happiness in the hamburger? No, because it's our view that hamburger is good which has created this wanting or suffering in our mind. Vexation. And it's only that vexation which releases. So it's basically our view that what we perceive is not the world out there. It's a very subjective creation of our mind. See, when you watch cricket and the team that you like wins, it's only fun because you like it. So you are actually enjoying the liking rather than the event itself. What's so special about the event? When you take nature's point of view, somebody throws a ball, and there's a person, he's hitting the ball. Is that now we say it's great. It's a great experience. But for nature, let's say the ball comes and the person misses the ball. Is there any real difference between these two things? Hitting the ball or missing the ball? These are just events. Because everything else is in our mind. But it's not good or bad itself. Like in football, we have come up with this rule that there's a line. If the ball comes behind that line, that's great. That's a goal. We call it as a goal. So a goal means there's a lot of happiness. Right? So, see, if I take the ball and I put it here, then nobody will feel anything. But now I put the ball 10 centimeters next to it. So then people feel, that's something special has happened. Something really special has happened. Has really something special happened? Nothing special has happened. That's why a person who doesn't know the rules, can he feel the same happiness? So, knowing the rules and being ignorant, these two combinations create expectations. Because knowing the rules is like, with this knowledge, our mind separates the world and creates these fixed ideas of how the world should be. And ownership is one of these feelings our mind creates. See, when we come back to this example in the morning, we have to finish in a few minutes. It's an interesting topic. We'll go more and more into this anicca, but I want to take you gently, and I want it to be something that you feel makes sense to you. I want to relate it to your life as well. So now we are always talking about why expectations happen to our mind and how no longer so that in our mind expectations no longer arise. See, this is the third state. It's when you realize that everything happens when the causes come together, then there won't be any expectations. So why? I'll give you this example. See, when I put this bowl yesterday I feel that this is my bowl. It's not the bowl that was given for me to use, which is what nature really is. This is my bowl. Actually, there's no such thing called mine or yours. Everything belongs to the universe. But when we say this is mine, what we actually do is we separate it for us. And we feel that now we take it for granted and we separate it as being mine. Actually, you can't do that with nature, but you can feel like that. This is what happens in our mind. So I feel that this is my bowl. It's actually not. That's why I can't be sure that I'm going to have it, right? Anyone else can also use it. It's always up to nature what's going to happen. Who's going to use it, for how long, right? So, and then I feel that this is the place where so I take this bowl and I put it on my locker. Now when I put it there, what the mind feels is that now I have put it there. So now it's fixed. That means now this is where it is. That means for some time it is there, and our mind has a right to expect to find it there. It's not just an event that happened. So I put it there. That's something that happened. So nature will see it something like this. There's a bowl, and it was like causes came together and an effect happened. So this bowl was placed there. But it is not something that is now, what should I say? This is not something fixed. So when the causes change, now you will say it's impermanence. Now you will say, yeah, of course, we know it can move anytime. But that's not exactly what I'm trying to say. It's like the bowl is where it is only as long as the causes for it, only as long as the causes come together. It's not somewhere just there, just like unconditionally there. So just a manifestation, that's what we call as a manifestation. See, you feel that this bowl, when it's standing there, you feel that it has been put there 2 hours ago, right? Since then it is there. This is like this fixed thinking. Actually, the bowl that you see right now just came into being. Because it's not a fixed bowl, it's a process. And the energy came together in this way just now, you can say. It's not something you can explain with time. The causes which make the ball be there right now are not the same causes in the next moment. It's always new causes creating a new effect, right? So I feel that for me to put it here, now it doesn't need causes to stay here, right? That's the feeling. Now that I put it here, it doesn't need any causes for it to be where it is. Because now it is simply is here. But the thing is, for it to be here right now, still many causes are acting on it to create that effect. Right? So it's never finished. This is how ironical. So for example, when you cook something, there's a moment when you feel now I have finished cooking it. Have you really finished cooking that meal? In that case, no one should be able to eat it. Because if this is finished, you can't take it apart anymore. Right? But it is because you can never finish cooking a meal that when we put it into our mouth, our stomach can digest it and break it apart and make something else out of it. So it's not finished, you can't finish cooking anything. That's why this is not finished. This has not finished coming together. Nothing is finished in this way. So that also means, so that's, when you understand this principle of anicca, you will also understand what death really is and what change really is. But change is not the change we know. So this fixedness, just to finish for today, we'll talk about this more. It's like now I put this here. Now it no longer needs any causes to stay there. So since I put it there, it simply is. It's something like this. This, when I put it, and now it just is. But in reality, it is here right now because of the presence of causes. This manifests in this way because of the presence of causes. Without these causes, the effect wouldn't manifest. It's always new causes manifesting that effect. Without that, so this is not simply here, void of causes. Something like that. So it's like switching our mind from thinking about things and entities to this process-based thinking. This is something when we'll realize this, then expectations will completely fall away more and more. So yeah, today we have made some good small entry into this. We have talked about cause and effect anyways in many other aspects already. But most importantly is always try not to forget, we are not doing this for academical studies. We're trying this to understand our mind and why we suffer and how to find happiness, unconditional happiness. So every week there's something good to learn, but try to apply this to your life situations. And see, we talked a lot about vexation in the past and these kinds of concepts as well. So here also, try to see this in your life, and this will give you the motivation to continue on this journey. Okay. Let us take a moment to transfer all the merits that we have acquired today by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, by preparing the sermon, coming to the sermon, and ushering the Swaminathan, inviting the Swaminathan to deliver the sermon, making offerings to the Buddha statue, and listening to the sermon. First and foremost, let us transfer all the merits we have acquired today to all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and have passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives towards the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Nuhanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let's also transfer these merits and express our gratitude to all those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. If any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha, and everyone who has contributed to the construction of the monastery, as well as those who passed on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. Let's also transfer these merits to each and everyone who is involved in organizing and making these sermons possible. Each and everyone in the school and beyond. Make the power of these merits, they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also translate these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who've helped us and supported us and assisted us. May through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles with their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakradeva as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambhadasasana. Let's also transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our ancestors, all those who have predeceased us, all those who have been friends and family to us in this journey of samsara. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the armed forces as well as the police forces who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we've acquired today. Let's also transfer these merits to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been family and friends to us in this infinitely long journey of samsara. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the warful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbāna. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let us all resolve that, may through the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped to make this program a success become an Arahatanahanse, an Arahat Mihinananse in this very life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now the Mahasangha will transfer the blessings to you. Raga ginnin midetva, dvesha ginnin midetva, moha ginnin midetva, Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita dharavetva. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satvayo. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita dharavetva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita dharavetva. Raga gini niveva, dvesha gini niveva, moha gini niveva, nivan sapala bheva, nivan sapala bheva. Nivan sapala bheva. Tunarvangi Svisi Ananta Mahaguna Vilen Siela Lok Sila Satyo Nibbāna Paramasukhi Sukhitara Venta. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.